my personal mission statement. So we are going to look at your personal mission statement. You are going to look at that. I am not. And from where I look at it, this is the first step to designing one's own future at one's own terms. Hmm? So why am I doing this session? So the story began around 12 years back, actually. That was when I did my first 7 Habits program. In fact, I distinctly remember the dates. It was 19th, no, 20th, 21st, and 22nd January. So it was those 3 dates that I attended this 7 Habits signature program at my office, ST Microelectronics. And it was a very powerful session. When I did this exercise, the workshop that we are going to do now, this exercise happens on the second day in a 3-day workshop. And when I did this exercise, I realized that I would want to pursue a PhD. So I pursued a PhD after this session. When I did this exercise, I realized that I really enjoy sharing knowledge, helping people live their life the way they want, and so on, helping people grow. So that was the reason why I then, went bang on into conducting training sessions at ST. I conducted numerous trainings for my team members, for the entire ST, and so many things happened subsequently. So that was 12 years ago that I started this journey. And and in the between years, I was training, I was doing PhD myself, and pretty recently then I realized that when I did this exercise again, I realized that I will be more joyful and be able to make more meaningful contributions as I switch into academia and interact with young students and influence their lives in any possible positive manner. So here I am today teaching at IIIT Delhi, and I am having a gala of time. I am really having fun. I enjoy each and every day. I enjoy each and every interaction that I have with my students, and I'm happy. So when recently I read this article about living purposefully and people being able to tide through ups and downs in life, highs and lows of life, if they have a larger purpose, a longer term purpose, then small, little things don't bother you. So when I read that article, it really hit me. And I realized that so many of us, so many of my friends, my family, struggle every now and then. And here I have this tool. I know of this tool and I have delivered this tool, this workshop I have conducted so many times at ST, and then subsequently I've been conducting this kind of a workshop at IIIT also with my students and even some staff at IIIT. So I felt that यार जब मैं सबके लिए कर रहा हूँ तो अपने दोस्तों के लिए और अपने फैमिली के लिए क्यों नहीं? And that is where this workshop. Before we start, in fact, let me just ask you to fill this small pre-quiz. It will not take more than a minute or two. So what does knowing essentially mean? When I say that I know you or you know me, what do we mean by that? So one thing that we say that I know another person or I know myself is when I say that, okay, I know the talents and passions of this person. Or that I know what this person aspires to be or what the potential this person has. For many of our team members, for our employees, we may know already that, oh, this is a very high potential employee. We use such stuff. What is something that this person is afraid of? What are the challenges this person is facing in life? Is it not? So when we say that I know someone, it is answers to these questions that we are able to possibly, comment on or say something about. What are this person's priorities in life? What are his or her role models? What does he like or dislike? Hmm? Is it not? All of this we say that is a part of knowing someone. So when we are saying this, that all of this is a part of knowing someone, what we also need to think about is, do we also know ourselves? Do we also know ourselves in terms of what are our strengths, what are our development areas, and so on? So what we are going to do now is actually an exercise in knowing ourselves, an exercise where we will dive deep within and know for ourselves what our different strengths, weaknesses are, and how we can live a full life. Hmm? So before we actually start, what do we understand by values? Because when we say that I know someone or I know myself, when we say that, okay, I know my values. So what do we understand by values?
Sir, can I unmute and speak?
You're already unmuting. Speak.
Okay, so values are something on which we base our decisions. It forms a value system for us on which our decisions are made, and that decision can impact where our life is headed on a broader scale.
So it's something like some compass through which we decide what to do, what not to do. Am I right?
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Someone else? Any other ideas? What are values?
Value systems which we formulate for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Which we formulate for ourselves. So your value system will be different from mine, Sandeep.
Benchmarks, yes.
So your value system will be different from mine. Am I right?
Can be, maybe it can be overlapping, it can be
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. Anil?
It's about belief system. So, what is the belief system I am having? Each one could have a different belief system, and based on that, we carry or we take a decision.
Hmm. So each one can have a different belief system, and therefore values that I have could be different from values that you have.
Yes.
Okay, Shitu?
So we can say it as my rules, my regulations.
Hmm. Something, some things that I have set for myself, or
My
society
life,
might
my
have,
rules.
yeah, society might have set, or I have set, but
Yeah,
how I want to live my life. Hmm?
right.
Okay, great. Thanks, Shitu. Yes, Amit.
Yeah, according to me, values are the follow path. Okay, this is how we derive ourselves, how we need to move forward, what we need to do, what we don't. We just, that's a follow path we decide for ourselves. And of course, you rightly said it's different for everyone.
Hmm. Great. So one thing that we know is that values could be subjective, they could be different for everyone, and they are dependent on whether we value them or not. And do we also realize that our values can change over time? Something could be important today, may not be important another day, therefore we value it more or less on different days. Hmm? Does it happen? And
Different than principles, of course, it can change. It is
and
different than
yeah,
principles.
and they're also situational. They're also situational. At sometimes I follow this value, at another time I don't value this, because for example, vegetarian food, if I'm in India, okay, all the time I'm having vegetarian food, and it's easy to access vegetarian food, it's great. But if I go to, say, France, it's difficult to access vegetarian food, I may start to take non-vegetarian food. That can happen, because it's my personal belief system कि vegetarian खाना या नहीं खाना. It could also be situational. Am I right?
Yeah.
So what we need to realize is that there is something else which is also called as principles. So principles are universal. They are timeless, they are objective, and they are at work, whether we believe in them or not, whether we understand them or not. So can you give me an example of a principle? Many of us are science students. We know so many principles. Sandeep?
Uh, Punctuality.
Punctuality is a value. See,
Right.
you may value punctuality more than I do. I started the session at dot 2:30. Someone joined at 2:45. So punctuality, I would say, is a value, is it not?
That's right. That's right.
Indian Standard Time and real Japanese Standard Time, it does not work. So punctuality then would be value, is it not?
That's right.
Hmm? Okay, something else?
Killing someone.
Hmm?
Killing is a crime. I mean, we don't have to kill somebody. It's a principle, universal principle. It's wrong.
So many of us kill chicken and kill goats. Okay, we may not kill it by our hands, but we do that. So it's not a crime.
Hmm.
If someone is trying to kill you, you would kill this person. When you are at war, you would kill someone. So it's not a principle, it's a value.
Physically hurting another human being?
Mm, so again, when you are in war, when you are fighting a war, you would want to hurt the other person, right? You would want to kill
Then
the
it
other
becomes
person.
a duty.
You would
Then
want
it
to kill
becomes a duty.
Ha,
It's
so see,
part of my...
it's a situational. So it cannot be a principle, it's a value.
Constant change and evolution. I
अब
think that is
अब अंकित ने ऐसी बात बोली जिसको कोई चैलेंज नहीं कर सकता. चेंज तो होता ही रहेगा. Great. So okay, change will happen. So if we accept that change will happen, then we are aligning ourselves to a principle. Great. Thank you, Ankit. Something else?
Yeah, so I think principles are something which is our, of course, a belief, and that defines our actions. And I think we believe that belief it can be a persistent belief, and we intend to go for it without changing much around it, and then accordingly we follow our actions.
But Amit, we just said that would be situational. तुम कुछ believe करोगे, मैं कुछ और believe करूंगा. So it cannot be a principle.
Okay, so I think that's a very thin line difference between values. Values is what can change, which is situational, because that's not a belief. Values are something which is little distinctively little different. It is a temporary in nature, as you mentioned on the slide. But this is more of a fall. It's something defined either by nature or by your existence in life, and that's how.
That is where. What is a principle? Give an example of a principle. भैया आपने unmute करा हुआ है.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add on to what the discussion was going on. So basically, I mean, just like everybody has their own values, I think everybody has their own principles also. And principles again will vary from person to person. It definitely does depend on one's own belief systems, what is right, what is wrong, and everybody will have a different belief system for different things in life. So I think again you cannot simply say there is one principle governing everything. I mean, then that would be God. And again, there will be several belief systems there. Somebody believes in God, somebody doesn't believe in God. So
yeah,
it's again
not a principle, but also a value.
Yeah.
So this is the definition of value and principle. So if you tell me that principle can change from one person to another, then we are talking about values. That is the distinction I'm trying to bring out. Actually, through this discussion, that is the intent. This is, while we many times say कि ये मेरे principles के खिलाफ है, इसलिए मैं इसको नहीं करूँगा. What I'm trying to tell you is that we are using a term which actually should be called as values, because that is subjective and that is what you follow, not I.
So basically what you are saying is, instead of saying ये मेरे principles के खिलाफ है, हमें कहना चाहिए ये मेरे values के खिलाफ है.
Ha. So what would be principle? But even then there are principles which are at work always. So give me an example of a principle. That is what I'm looking for.
I'm something here. I'm just thinking of an example. For example, a lost time never comes back. Now, I don't know if that's a fact or that's a principle. So that's what I'm just trying to.
Okay, lost time never comes back. Okay, in our physical setting, we can say that, and that can be considered as a principle. Unless you have a time machine. Until the time we invent a time machine, we can say this is a principle. Okay.
Let me try one more time. When as you took an example of somebody joining at 2:30 and not joining at 2:30 and joined at 2:40. So probably, yes, it was maybe values at that point in time, but when it becomes persistent in your life and you decide not to deviate from it and you join or maybe attend or start something at 2:30 or whatever you've committed to be a part of it, then that becomes a principle of your life.
Again, Amit, I would say that because this principle is yours, it still is a value. It is a strong value.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Principle is universal. Principle is expected to be universal. Let me give you an example. Or I see.
Can I add?
Yes, Anand.
Anuj, can I add?
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Anuj. This is Anand.
Yeah.
A principle like universal truths like seasons, which we cannot change. It is which it is decided by the universe. Okay. No humans. Yeah, no humans can change those seasons. Those are principles.
You give an example.
For example, someone so death is in one of the examples, right? We all have a time limit we can live, and it's in principle.
Like
For
cyclones.
Okay, death is inevitable.
Birth and death.
Okay. So something linked to nature, you may say it's out of our control and we would call it principles. Okay. Ananya, you also unmuted. Yes.
Hi, Katu. So, like the difference between values and principles, for me, like a principle would be that being kind to people or always being nurturing towards the people around you. Could those be principles? Because no matter what your values are, these are things that are universally everyone follows.
Providing justice to the victim, like.
Okay. But again, you might be willing to do that. Someone else may not be.
So
but at
Anuj,
the end, we have to provide the justice.
Yeah.
Okay.
In one another way.
Yes, Bhabhi, आप कुछ कह रहे थे.
So yeah, so Anuj, probably since we are giving these definitions of universal, timeless, objective, I think it's the community to which I belong, and that community together believing in something which will be our guiding principle to live by. That community can be my religion, that community can be my work community. So I think then that becomes a principle when we together all believe in it.
So इसका मतलब sati is a principle. Huh?
Oh, at that moment of a time, probably sati was a principle.
No, so it is not timeless, na? It is our belief system. Let me give you an example. Have you ever seen कि आपने आम की गुठली बोई हो और उसमें से नीम का पेड़ निकला हो? Ever seen that? What you sow, so shall you reap. That is a principle. It was true 100,000 years earlier. It is true today. It was true in the US. It was true in India. It was true everywhere. Now, whether you believe in it or not, it will work. Is it not? So what you sow, so shall you reap can be considered as a principle. Anything else? Or, there are many other principles. So this is one example. Other things are all values. We confuse them with principles. And until this distinction is clear to us, until this distinction is clear to us, we might end up living a life which is ineffective because we have values which are opposite to the principles. हम नीम लगा रहे हैं और सोच रहे हैं कि मीठा आम निकलेगा. That cannot happen. मैं क्योंकि मेरी पूरी कम्युनिटी ऐसा बिलीव करती है, तब भी ऐसा नहीं होगा. Are you with me on this?
Yes.
So, if I sow hatred, can I have a peaceful society? Cannot happen. To get love, you have to give love. Am I right? If we sow hatred, we will only get hatred. One person in a million will give back love to you. That is a Buddha. Someone came, spat on Buddha's face. Buddha still smiled and blessed this person. You and I are not that today, are we? So, कोई करेगा ऐसा. कहीं पे एक एक्सेप्शन आप चाहे जो आपने सोचा, जो आपने बिलीव करा उस तरह से कर लोगे, but that still does not become a principle. Because a million of you believes in something, that does not make it a principle. It still remains a value. Is this thing home? Is this thing clear? So, Going forward then, I would say that these principles or what we call as our values help us to guide us whenever we face a fork, is it not? And whenever we face a fork, we rely on our values. What we just now discussed is that if we rely on our values, and if our values are in conflict with the principles, we may not get the desired results. Is that true? Like, is that okay? Is it okay to say this if I say it like this?
Anuj,
Yes,
I'm little confused yet. So I think the third word also comes into my mind is intuition. Does the intuition is because of the values you carry, or because of the principle it has been laid in the nature, or how has it been derived? Because that's what the guiding principle or maybe guiding path when you are in some service.
Intuition. Okay. So Amit, I would say intuition is a very complex word. You would use it differently, I would use it differently, and a very enlightened being, let us say Sri Ravi Shankar or Sadhguru or whoever you consider as enlightened, would use intuition word very differently. For example, for someone like you or me, a commoner, it may mean intuition may simply be some subconscious patterns that we have, which could have been made rigid in our minds because of our conditioning in the society. And we may imagine that हम उस subconscious thought को intuition समझ रहे हैं. Whereas for an enlightened being, a Buddha, intuition could actually be accessing a time-space continuum and actually finding out what is going to happen and then saying that no, this is not right, or this is not how we should do it. We should do it that way. Okay, so till the time I and you do not have access to that time-space continuum, I would say let us, for the sake of safety only, assume that intuition is based on our past experiences, whether they are this life or whether they are past life, if you believe in past life, whatever it is. But let us for now assume that intuition is also one kind of a thought. Because at least I cannot consciously access time-space continuum today. Until I'm able to do that, I would keep it aside and say, okay, intuition is also one of my thoughts. It could be a value, it could be a principle, I do not know that yet. And to validate if it is a principle, let me just check these 4 questions. Is it timeless? Is it universal? Is it objective? And will it work even if I don't believe in it? So I just put this litmus test. These 4 questions are a litmus test. If they are yes, okay, this is a principle. Whether it came as intuition or whether it came as a thought, whatever, how does it matter? Can we do that? Does that help, Amit?
Yeah, sure, Anuj. Thanks.
So intuition is a very, very tricky word, but good that you asked, and thanks for bringing this up because it helps everyone. Otherwise, हम सब confused रहते हैं. You know, these are terms which we use. हम समझते हैं कि ये तो मेरे को पता है ऊपर से बत्ती जली. But in reality, till the time we are able to consciously access that continuum, I would say this intuition, what we call as intuition, could just be some subconscious control that our brain or mind is having on us. Okay, so just apply these 4 questions, this litmus test, and you will know if it is aligned with the principles or not. Okay, so we also face such kind of a fork in our life every now and then. We do. And how many of us have read Alice in Wonderland or know something about it? So there's this girl Alice who gets lost in a different world and she faces a fork. She has a cat there. She asks the cat, would you tell me please which way I ought to go from here? The cat says, that depends a good deal on where you want to get to. Alice says, this is a new land for me. I don't pretty much care where. The cat said, then it doesn't matter which way you go. And till the time, we do not know where we want to go, we are having or living a rudderless life, just like this one, where we may think that we are taking a very powerful and a very useful decision today. But if we do not have that end in mind, what we want to achieve, where we really want to go in life, that vision, that view with us, we may actually go wherever. So, as I mentioned, I might have already said this. When I started this session, I said that 7 Habits program was what changed my life in a very big way. And I will be showing you 2 or 3 videos from the 7 Habits program. This is the first video where Stephen Covey, the author of this book, is talking about this the second habit, begin with the end in mind. And begin with the end in mind is what will take us to our life mission statement, because we want to get something in our life and we want to start by imagining that future. Only then will we reach that future. Okay, so let's just listen to what Stephen has to say.
Begin with the end in mind is based on the principle that all things are created twice. There's a mental or first creation, and then a physical or second creation to all things. Habit 2 deals with the mental or first creation. Take the construction of a home, for example. You create it in every detail before you even hammer a nail into place. You try to get a very clear sense of what kind of house you want. If you want a family-centered home, you plan to put a family room where it would be a natural gathering place. You plan sliding doors and a patio for children to play outside. You work with ideas. You work with your mind until you get a clear image of what you want to build. Then you reduce it to blueprint and develop construction plans. All of this is done before the ground is even touched. If not, then in the second creation, the physical creation, you will have to make expensive changes that may double the cost of your home. You have to make sure that the blueprint, the first creation, is really what you want, that you've thought everything through. Then you put it into bricks and mortar. Each day you go to the construction shed and pull out the blueprint to get marching orders for the day. Basically, you begin with the end in mind. The same is true for each of us. As an individual, a family, or an organization, you can participate in the first creation by going through the process of developing a mission statement. You can create the blueprint from which to guide your life. If you are the programmer, write the program. Decide what you're going to do with the time, talent, and tools you have to work with. The best way to predict your future is to create it.
That's what we are going to do. Create our future. And the principle over here is everything is created twice. That mental creation precedes physical creation. So what we are going to do now, embark on now, is to have this mental creation ready. Ready? All of us? Great. So, we want to achieve something in life. Let's look at this another video from 7 Habits again, and start to develop the vision that we need.
In your mind's eye, picture your 80th birthday. Picture the faces of your friends and family as they come to wish you well. All these people have come to honor you, to express their feelings, to toast a life well spent.
69, 70, 71.
Imagine you are the person being honored, the subject of the speeches. What would you like the speaker to say about you, your life? What would you like them to say about your character and contributions? What achievements would you want them to remember? What impact would you like to have made in their lives?
Thank you so much for always being there for me and supporting me no matter what I did.
Paciência com as minhas travessuras, que hoje essas crianças, né, vó? Eu vou passar todo o ensinamento seu para os meus filhos, vó. Obrigado. Eu amo a senhora.
This is my beloved husband, whom I have loved for at least 70 years, even though we've been married 60 years. We met in elementary school. And it was love at first sight. And so,
思い起こすとね、やっぱり親父の後ろ姿いつも心の中にあって、それに励まされて今があるな、そういうふうに思います。ありがとう。お誕生日おめでとう。みんなからね。なんだこれ。
Start living today with that picture of your own 80th birthday party clearly in mind. In that picture, you will find your definition of true success. I have found that it is extremely helpful to write down what you truly desire inside a personal mission statement. In that written mission statement, you clarify for yourself what ends you serve, what you want to be, your character, what you want to do with your life, your contributions and achievements. Your mission statement is like a personal constitution. It's the basis for making major life-directing decisions, as well as smaller daily choices in the midst of all of the ups and downs of life. Mission statements come in all forms and shapes. It doesn't matter what form it's in, as long as it uniquely expresses you. Some come in the form of a poem or a collage of pictures. Some are long, others might be shorter. A mission statement is not something you write overnight. It may take several rewrites, but you don't let that stop you. Several years ago, I remember thinking deeply about my own mission statement, one that I had developed many, many years before. I was sitting alone on a beach at the end of a bicycle ride. I took out my mission statement and I really thought about it very, very deeply. It took several hours, but at the end, you can't imagine how I felt such a sense of clarity, such a sense of renewed commitment, and such a sense of exhilaration and freedom. Once again, I knew what my life was all about. Viktor Frankl says, we detect rather than invent our missions in life. I like that choice of words. Detect rather than invent. You see, defining our mission really requires thinking through our deepest desires, our dreams, our sense of responsibility, our most intimate and satisfying relationships. Our meaning comes from within, from down deep within ourselves. As the poet Mary Oliver asks, doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
So we detect our mission statements. In fact, we are on a journey to discover our mission statement. Before we start, or as we start, I want you to open your notebooks and write down different roles that you play in life. Each one of us plays so many roles, is it not? We are children, some of us are married, so spouse, we have in-laws, we might be team members, we could be team leaders, citizens, responsible world citizens, friend, volunteer, so many roles we play in our lives, is it not? There is one more very important role. That role is of the self. we also have a responsibility towards ourselves. At 80, we should not feel that, यार मैं तो औरों के लिए ही जिया, मैं खुद तो खुश हुआ ही नहीं. So औरों की खुशी में हमारी खुशी है. When we make others happy, see all these roles, when we are able to accomplish these roles in a meaningful way, we feel happy, we feel joy within ourselves. There's no denying this fact. But that doesn't mean that we should ignore what we desire. In fulfilling other people's desires, needs, and wants, we should not forget what is it that I desire. So, while we list down other roles that we are playing in our life, I would want you to also give space to this role of self. Just take 2 minutes to list down these roles, please. Now that we've listed down these roles, what we should do is, we should, in front of each of these roles, write down one key person, name of one key person who is the beneficiary, or you may say who we relate to in this role. For example, if I say spouse, then write down the name of your husband or wife. If I say citizen, world citizen, then one body, or one, you could say, when you say volunteer, for example, you suppose you're volunteering with some organization, so you could say the person who started that organization, one person, or the beneficiary from that volunteering exercise. When you say a friend, list down one friend's name. Or when you say a mentor, mentee, or when you say father, mother, just list down the name of your child. That is the beneficiary, that is the person who you are father or mother to. Or son, daughter, brother, sister. So just list down the name of the other person who is a part of that relationship. Great. So now imagine that it is your 80th birthday. Imagine that it is your 80th birthday, and the key people that you just identified are now just going to raise a toast for you. They are going to say something about you. What is it that they will say? So now put the name, copy the name again. Imagine on your 80th birthday, what is one statement that you would want to hear from this person? Okay. And let us for now imagine that the people that you have listed down there are immortal. They will be there then. Okay. Let us imagine that for now. So what is one statement that they will give for you, raise a toast for you on your 80th birthday celebration? Okay. And once you've listed down all of these, okay, all the people, that key people that you've done, once you've listed down all these tribute statements, then put a +1 in the chat window. So one statement for each one of these people. What is it that they are going to say? Give it some thought. Reflect upon it. If it's already done, you may want to put in, for example, if you say I'm the daughter, then, and you just put the name of your mother there, put the name of your father also, put the name of your uncle, auntie also. Add more. What I mean to say is, this is our social mirror. And what is it that they were going to say about you? If you've done all of that, spend some more time on the self part. What is it that you would want to say about yourself, about a life well lived? On your 80th birthday, how will you give a pat on your back? If you've done this, now identify one goal that you should achieve, or two goals that you should achieve, so that this tribute statement that you want to get from this person becomes a reality. For example, if you want your wife to say that he has been always very supportive, then what is one goal that you would want to achieve for yourself so that this thing is kind of reestablished for her? Okay. We move to the next question. Over here, now you imagine that there is a six-inch wide steel bar, 6-inch wide steel bar that is placed between two skyscrapers, and you are asked to cross it. There is no net beneath them. Okay, you are asked to cross a 6-inch wide, the distance between two skyscrapers on a 6-inch wide steel bar. For what will you be willing to cross it? Would it be some money, your pet, something that you love, really love a lot, your brother, sister, husband, wife, children, creating a world record, uh, because you promised to someone that you will cross that bar? What is it that will make you cross that steel bar between those two skyscrapers? Once you do that, put a +5 in the chat window.
Anuj, do you mean that what would compel you to do this, or
Yeah.
what would take you to do that?
Yeah, what would be at stake that you would be able to do this?
Okay, compelling reason.
Yeah. What will motivate you, basically? What is at stake for which you will do this?
And that could be your own life also.
Yeah. But life तो जा रही है, otherwise आप कूद गिर गए तो भी जाएगी. Your life also.
नहीं,
Yes.
I mean, अगर अपनी जान बचानी है और उसके लिए वो 6 इंच का स्टील
Yes,
बार
yes,
क्रॉस
yes.
करना है.
Yes, it could be your life also. Yes.
Okay.
The next thing that you need to imagine is, if you could spend one day in the greatest library studying anything, if you could spend one day in the greatest library studying anything, what would that thing be?
Sir?
Yes, Anne?
Yeah, are we assuming that we will be completing the whole thing in one day?
No.
Okay,
You want to study something, you have one day and you have this full big library. Whatever you want to study, you can study, and you are there for one day. You are there. You cannot do anything else. You have to just be in that library. What would you study?
Okay, even if it means leaving whatever we start in the middle.
Yeah, because ek din mein khatam nahi hoga, but what is it that you will choose to study?
Okay.
The next thing that you do is you list down 10 things, at least 10 things that you love to do. Okay? 10 things that you love to do. Could be anything. Dance, playing tennis, doing something for the environment, eating good food, talking to friends, playing basketball, cleaning the car engine, cleaning your almirah, cleaning maths, solving theorems. You could think of cooking, you could think of decorating your house, you could think of so many things that you love to do. You don't need to list down things I love to do. These are just examples, and they're not even my list. Yes, Shubha. Even those things that you've not done but you want to do. No, Manali, you have to think of 10, at least 10. That is the exercise. I want you to go within and identify at least 10 things that you love to do. That's so important. Each one of us should have at least 10 such things now. Think about it. Cooking food, cooking something special. You could be more specific, not just that generic. Reading some particular genre of books, reading some particular author. So you can make it more specific, but have at least 10 things in that list. Ten is the minimum. Okay. Now, while we just now listed 10 things that we would love to do or that we love to do, now I want you to list down things that you are good at. Okay. This list can be much longer than 10, by the way. You could be, you may think that helping others is a strength. You may think that math is your strength. You may think that synthesizing information and presenting it in a very meaningful way so that many people understand it could be your strength. You may love dancing and you may be good at dancing, generating ideas, strategizing, sensing needs, singing, playing pranks, adding humor to a situation. Whatever your strengths are, whatever you are good at, just list them down. As many of them as you can think of, thinking about putting the most important strengths first, or most importantly, the strongest strengths first, and just list those strengths. Once you've listed quite a few of them, so now close your eyes and think of something that represents you. It could be a flower, an animal, a bird, a butterfly, an insect, a plant, anything. Anything in nature that kind of represents you. Which animal, if you're identifying an animal, which flower if you're identifying a flower, which bird if you're identifying a bird. Just close your eyes and think about which animal or a bird kind of represents you. And then spend a minute to write down why and how does this being, this life represent you? Why do you say you're like a butterfly? Why do you say you're like a hummingbird? Why do you say you're like a dog or whatever? Again, it's private. You can write anything. You can even write a pig. So once you've done this, then you think about a situation or a time when you felt deeply inspired. And describe that time. What had happened? What inspired you? What words? What incident? Why were you inspired? How were you inspired? What did you do when you were inspired? Just write for about a minute in your notebook on that time, of that time. When you felt deeply inspired. आप किसी से मिले, किसी ने आपसे कुछ कहा, anything. Something that really inspired you. You saw someone doing something which you had not imagined he or she could do, and that inspired you. यार ये कर सकता है तो मैं तो कर ही सकता हूँ. Whatever it was, just reflect, close your eyes, reflect, and bring that thing on that piece of paper that you have in front of you. Now think about some person, one or two people. Start with one person who has made a very positive difference in your life. What are this person's qualities that you cherish and value? Okay. So first, put the name of the person and then list a few qualities of why you value and cherish this person. So do it for one person. After you've done this for one person, the person who has really had the biggest and the most positive influence on you, you can put a +2 in the chat window. And after putting a +2, you can continue to think of other influencers that you have in life who and their qualities that you really cherish. Yes, it can be a family member, anyone who has had a really very positive influence on you, and the qualities due to which this person could have that influence on you. The qualities that you cherish, that you would probably want to imbibe within yourself. If you were to spend 1 hour with a person who has ever lived, okay, 1 hour with a person who has ever lived, who would that person be? Why? And then what would you ask this person? One person who ever lived, if you have an opportunity to spend 1 hour with them, it could be anyone. What would you ask him or her? So once you've done that, now we look at the contribution that you make to the world. Let us say that 5 years from today, a newspaper wants to write about you, about something you've done or are doing. And 3 people close to you will be interviewed. Who are those 3 people? And what would these 3 people say about you? Okay. So 5 years from now, a newspaper wants to do a story on you, and they will interview 3 people who are either beneficiaries of it or your partners in it, whatever. So who are these 3 people who you want to do something for or with, and what would they say about you? So now we are entering into this phase of writing your mission statement. Okay. And what we will do is, I will start a video. You be with that video. As the video will end, you start to write. You start to write what you want to do with this life that we have. And just write. It may happen that words do not come. So keep the pen moving. Do not leave the pen. Do not drop the pen. अगर आना बंद हो गया तो भी पेन को घुमाते रहो, चलाते रहो. अपने आप थोड़ी देर में new thoughts would come. You write them. Do not need to refine anything too much yet. This process is just about bringing out whatever thoughts you are coming about what you want to do in this life, for yourself, for others, for people around you, for the society, anything, any thoughts that come to you, just write them. So after the video, we will have about 3 to 4 minutes in which we will do this writing. And then we will move to the next step as to how to now make this mission statement a reality for us. So I will start with the video, be with the video. As the video ends, you start to write, and then I will play some music. You just be with that. That music is just to support you to be in that mode. And you just continue to write. Okay? So please start to write and continue to write for at least till I'm playing this music. Great. So now that most of us are done with writing something, however difficult or easy it might have been, now we need to move into the next phase of making this vision or this mission statement a reality for us. So for that, we actually need to enter into habit 3. And I will just give you a quick glimpse of how to plan and get these things going. The most important concept that habit 3 talks about is this time quadrant matrix. This is a matrix on 2 axes, an axis of importance and an axis of urgency. The quadrant 1, this one, is about things which are important and also urgent. For example, crisis, pressing problems, deadline driven projects, meeting reports, and so on. Meetings, reports, so on. The second quadrant, or this quadrant, is about things which are urgent but may not be important. Example, unnecessary or needless interruptions. You're on this workshop and a phone rings. That's an interruption. And okay, when the phone rings, we may not immediately know if it is needless or not, but we can quickly pick it up and ask, is it something urgent or important? I'm into something. Okay, so we have to say no to such things which are not important but are urgent. Unnecessary reports, unimportant meetings, other people's minor issues. The not important, not urgent quadrant includes trivia, busy work, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. They take time, may not be very interesting. So excess of anything, whether it is TV, relaxation also. Excess of relaxation is also a time waster. This fourth, important but not urgent things are like preparation, prevention, planning, relationship building, recreation, values clarification, and so on. So today, when we spend these 2 hours over here, we spend time in this quadrant. So the first quadrant that we looked at is called the Quadrant of Necessity, which we need to manage. These are things which are important, but are also urgent. We have to somehow manage them. The next quadrant that we had looked at is the Quadrant of Deception. These things appear as important because they are urgent. For example, phone call आया, आपके spouse का था, तो अब देखते ही, अरे, it would also be important. It could be important, but you do not know for sure. Pick up the phone, check. एक दोस्त आया, चल यार चाय पीने चलते हैं. Now you might be working on something which is more important, and that interruption could be a deception. You might think, चलो दोस्त आया की जगह बॉस आया, बॉस ने कहा चल यार चाय पीने चलते हैं. Many times one may think important बात होगी, बॉस चाय पे बुला रहा है, but वहां गए पूरा 1 घंटा वेस्ट भी करा और पता लगा कोई important बात नहीं थी. This happened with some of us sometime. So this is the जी भैया.
वो जो एक चाय का प्याला है या कॉफी का एक आउटिंग है which your friend or your boss comes by and says चलो चलते हैं, that could be part of relationship building also, which is
then that comes important too. Then that comes in that other quadrant that we looked at, where we put in the relationship building thing. Many times
it again probably depends on the
yes,
it is again situational. I mean,
situational.
You are doing something, but
yes,
that relationship building is also important.
Yeah. See, that is why this is called as a quadrant of deception. Things in this quadrant may not be important, but will deceive you with something else, which could be in the top row, which are important. Okay, so we have to be very discerning. and decide a yes or a no based on what we are working on. Okay. This quadrant is the quadrant of excess and waste. We need to limit this. Now again, relaxation बहुत important है, but excess is something that we need to limit. Okay. This quadrant, the last one that we just colored, is the quadrant of effectiveness, and this is where we focus on. The more we focus on this, we will see that other quadrants automatically start to reduce. Even the quadrant 1, which was the quadrant of necessity, where we had urgent and important things, crisis coming up, even they will reduce because we are better prepared. We have a preventive thing in place. So a crisis, the number of crises will reduce. So the time that you spend in quadrant 1 will also reduce. But for this, we have to be disciplined to spend time in quadrant 2. We need to plan to spend time in quadrant 2, the quadrant of effectiveness there. Okay. And come whatever may, our focus should be to spend the time above this arrow in the important quadrants. Okay. So to do this, the first thing that we need to do is, जो अभी आपने goals लिखे ना, for every role we identified some goals that we had. अभी आपने एक life mission statement लिखी. You will see that those goals will also somewhere fit into your life mission statement. So for identify these such goals, one goal for every role. Okay, one goal for every role that is important for you, that you would want to do in that particular week. Those are your big rocks. And these goals have to be for self also. For example, if your life mission statement says that I want to complete this part of my education or qualification or something, then you have to plan that also. List down these things and then start to plan them on a regular basis. Now, what that regular basis is, I think it's best if we hear it from Stephen.
You're looking at this scene through what photographers call a wide-angle lens. They use this kind of lens to capture the big picture. Now you are looking through a telephoto lens, which is used to bring objects very close. Now you see me through a standard lens that gives you a normal human perspective. Most people live as if they were looking at life through a telephoto lens. They live hour to hour, day to day, looking at their lives through the lens of what's immediately in front of them and what's most pressing and urgent right now. Imagine walking down a street while looking through a telephoto lens. We would focus only on the immediate threat or the passing impulse. We would live from crisis to crisis, dealing only with urgent things, mistaking them for the important things. The telephoto lens perspective would not allow us to focus on what's truly important, on the big picture of our lives. The big picture is what's ultimately important to us, our life mission, our organizational vision, our long-term Quadrant 2 priorities. But we can't focus all the time on the big picture either. If we don't translate our vision into action, we lose touch with reality. We become dreamers and end up neglecting the very details that enable our vision to come true. So how do we stay focused day to day without losing sight of the big picture? The week is the normal lens that gives the most manageable perspective. You see, the week represents a complete patch in the fabric of life. There are work days, evenings, the weekend. It's close enough to be highly relevant, but distant enough to provide context and perspective. I mean, what you can't do in one day, you might be able to do in another. And over the course of a week, you can balance your life. If you were to ask me, what single practice would do more to balance your life and increase your productivity than any other, it would be this. Plan your week, each week, before the week begins. Take 20 or 30 minutes alone in a quiet place to go through these 3 steps. First, write down the important roles you play in your life. Roles represent your key relationships, your areas of responsibility. You may have the roles of being a manager of new products, a friend, a community volunteer, a family member. And don't forget yourself. You have an obligation to take care of yourself, to sharpen your own saw. Organizing your life around the many roles you play will help you maintain balance and focus on your key relationships, rather than focusing on tasks and things. Second, choose the big rocks. These are weekly Quadrant 2 goals for each of your roles. Look back at the big picture, your mission statement, and your long-range goals, and select those big rocks that will have the greatest impact on your mission and goals. And for each role, ask yourself the big rock question. What is the most important thing I could do in this role this week that would make the most positive difference? For instance, it might be to complete the budget this week. It might be to help a child resolve a problem, or to attend a conference where you will learn new ideas you need for your job. You see, these big rocks will almost always be Quadrant 2 activities. In essence, you're creating your Quadrant 2 plan for the week so that your highest priorities don't get pushed aside by the urgent. Finally, schedule the big rocks. Block out time now in your calendar for those big rocks before the week fills up with other activities. Then schedule your other activities around the big rocks. I once asked the managers of a struggling shopping center the big rock question. What one thing could you do that you absolutely know would have a significant positive impact on your business? Their answer was unanimous and immediate. Improve their deteriorating relationships with their tenants. They were the store owners in the shopping center. Then I asked them how much time they spent doing those kinds of things. It was less than 5%. Oh, they had all kinds of reasons. They had meetings to go to, reports to make out, email to answer. So you know what they did? They set up a goal to spend 1/3 of each week activity helping store owners with their problems. After about a year and a half, the effect was dramatic and profound. The numbers went up, and they had a waiting list for new tenants. This is the power of putting first things first every week. These Quadrant 1 and Quadrant 3 things that creep into your schedule won't overpower the more significant Quadrant 2 things. Once you've scheduled your big rocks for each week, then each day you can zoom in and prioritize your daily tasks and appointments. You see, with the right process and the right tools for weekly planning, literally, you can organize and execute every week of your life around your deepest Quadrant 2 priorities. You will spend your time on those things that matter most, never losing that big picture perspective that makes your life so rich and so meaningful.
What essentially it is saying is, create magic every week. List your goals along with the time frame in which you want to achieve them. List smaller actions that lead to this goal. Stuff that would be achievable within a month or a week. And then block time every week for these actions. And review the progress monthly, quarterly, on a regular basis. Okay. Basically, habit 3 over there is about having the integrity to execute on your priorities. So, are we willing to do this? So we have some semblance of a life mission statement now. This is by no means final. I would want you to spend some more time with it, refining it. My first mission statement was a few sentences. The second one reduced to 1 or 2. And my present mission statement is just 6 words, 7 words. And they are arranged like a crossword. I've put that crossword kind of a stuff on a background, painting kind of a background. I framed it and it is there on my desk. So if you come to my office, you will look around and you will see acha kuch painting lagi hui hai. For you, that's simply a painting. But for me, on that painting are embossed those words that are my mission statement. And when I see that, it inspires me to do things that really value to me, that are really valuable for me. So I would say spend some time to refine your mission statement. And as so many of us said in the beginning itself, we would need to refine it and review it and redo this exercise on a very regular basis. Now that regular basis could be 2 years, could be 1 year, could be longer, could be shorter, depending on what kind of changes we have experienced in our lives. But it is important that we review and redo this life mission exercise again when some changes have happened. Okay. So what is more important, or what is also very important, is that we take care of all the 4 dimensions of life when we look at the life mission statement: the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. So for body, that is your physical existence. Assume that you had a heart attack last week. So what kind of life would you live? Would you exercise daily now? Would you eat healthy food? So define your goals, weekly goals. All these 4 dimensions should appear in your life. For body, imagine you had a heart attack or a life-threatening situation that you faced just recently. How would you change your physical routine? Change that. Do that now. For the brain, for the mind, the intellectual capability, imagine, and this is so true for so many of us over here, imagine that the half-life of whatever you know in your profession is just 2 years. We understand the meaning of half-life. We have studied about radioactive way back in school. Radioactivity means that, half-life means that half of what I know has become obsolete 2 years down the line. So if that is the case, how would you prepare yourself for the future? How would you keep your brain active and your role relevant in whichever organization, in whatever place you are? For your heart, imagine that whoever you're talking about or whoever you're talking to, that person can listen to whatever you talked about that. So if whatever you're speaking about any other person, that person is able to listen to, what would you speak? So whenever you speak anything about anyone, imagine that this person is actually there in front of you listening to you. Would you behave differently? Would you live your life differently? Do that. And for the spirit, that is your inner well-being. Try to go within on a regular basis. You may want to meditate. Imagine that you have a direct connection, whatever you do, you have a direct connection with whoever you consider as God, whoever you consider as creator, even if that is you. How would you live your life then? How would you contribute to other people's life then? What are you doing to go within yourself on a regular basis? What can you add on a regular basis? So, in fact, regularity is the key. We have to take care of all these 4 dimensions: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual simultaneously on a regular basis. That brings me to the end of this session. I would request you to please fill the post survey. The post survey is in 2 parts. The first part is feedback for me. Okay. And as you close that feedback, you will be taken to the second part, which is the same questions that I asked you in the pre-survey. So you simply answer those questions, and there could be an interesting surprise waiting for you sometime later. Okay. So So once you've filled both the surveys, I would like to tell you about more resources that you can use for your personal growth. There are these set of books: 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Highly Effective Teenagers, Highly Effective, or not highly effective, actually Happy Kids, Highly Effective Families, and so on. So you can read these books. They are wonderful resources. They actually help us be more effective. So I would say start with the people or teenagers, whichever category you are in. Start with that book and then go to families or the other in the league. If you have not already done, I would say Inner Engineering Online is a very, very powerful program. It is very transformational. I have seen people change, not just physically, like it touches you in all the 4 dimensions. A few of our colleagues who are over here in this meeting have been wondering, how to, in Habit 1, for example, there is this concept of creating a space between action or what happens to you and how you respond to it, and then choosing your response. Habit 1 is, in fact, one of the most powerful habits. Habit 2 comes second, and then Habit 3. And it's not by chance that Stephen has listed them in that order, because they have that kind of an impact. So Habit 1 is really, really transformational. So people have been asking, how do we do it? How do we bring about that space? How do we create that space? And this Inner Engineering program is very, very powerful, and it can help you do that. Then when I said, you can do some meditations, create a happy life for yourself, there are these Chit Shakti meditations, which are available online on YouTube. They are very powerful. You can use them. And they are 15-20 minute meditations, and they can be done anywhere, in fact. Just a space where you can relax, sit and relax, or just lie down. The sitting here, lie down nahi hai itna. Sit and relax. You need a backrest there. So these are things which can be very powerful, can be very transformational for you, and you can use these resources. If you want to know more about more resources, or about 7 habits, or are interested in more such sessions or programs, I will anyway, if I conduct anything, I will let you know, and I will bombard you with more information.
Anuj, Amit here. However, no questions, but congratulations. It was damn good, and these 2 hours really went in with a very deep thought inside ours, as we generally don't get time in our day routine situations, and don't get time to review our missions at times, what we had said during while we started our career at times, right? And used to really think that what we gonna do and what we achieve in our life when we were young. But at the mid-age, we generally tend to forget and get diversified into various things because of situations and circumstances. So,
in fact, mid-age se yaad aaya, Amit, there is another friend of mine, Amit Mattu. He has a program called Take Two. It is for people like you and me, who are touching that age of 35, 40, 45, where we start to think, yaar, ab kya? And Take Two is about what is the next that you want to take up in your life. It's a very powerful program. If you want, I can share the details of that program with you.
Yeah, do share. But fantastic, yeah. It was very insightful, and thank you so much for bringing this up again. And
thank you, Amit.
My daughter enjoyed it. How I know she was too small for this, but at least she noted down each and every question and she answered it. And I'm sure she has closed on the book. She's not showcasing it to me, but I'm sure she would have got a great insight.
Yeah, you should not look into it. It's her private book.
Yeah, you may say thank you.
So thank you, all of you, for joining in. Yes, Shobha, you're saying something.
Hey, hi Anuj. Thank you. I'm really glad I joined it and thoroughly enjoyed going through this again. So looking forward to more sessions. And you mentioned you are going to host another session for the kids. I would be very much interested in following.
Yeah, definitely. I will keep you posted on that. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in. If there are any questions, please unmute and ask. Otherwise, thank you. Thanks a lot. It was wonderful having you here. And I hope I could
Okay,
add
sir.
Thanks, Anuj. All the best.